era of sustained resistance, like the Salt March in India, like the Civil Rights Movement in the 50s and 60s, where people every day realize that we, the people, are the ones that are going to make peace.
This is the Concord Naval Weapons Station. It's located just north of Highway 4 on Port Chicago Highway in Concord, California. It was chosen as the initial site of the Nuremberg actions because it's one of the largest weapons depots on the West Coast. 80% of the weapons shipped to Vietnam came from this facility. We also know through the Freedom of Information Act that white phosphorus and anti-personnel bombs, as well as an enormous amount of munitions, are coming out of here today.
For 2 hours we were shot at, grenades were thrown at us, and all the weapons come from here, from the United States. We were witnesses because we were laying on the floor, hit the dirt, as people can say, with these children, these old women, these men, and that's coming from here. Everyone should think about what's leaving here and where it's going.
Right. Move up.
The small strip of public land between the two sections of the base that's been the site of the Nuremberg Actions Vigil since June 10th, 1987.
God, we know how helpless we feel and how our bodies and flesh and blood do not seem to be able to stop trains. We need more than we are. And we need your spirit, which can stop trains and munitions and bombs. And may you give us the strength and the wisdom and the knowledge and somehow the power to stop these trains.
After 3 months of discernment, people at Nuremberg Actions started a 40-day fast on September 1st, 1987. And on the same day, after considerable advance notice, Brian and Duncan Murphy and David Duncan put themselves on the tracks in front of the train that was to come that day. When the train ran them down, Nuremberg Actions was thrust into immediate international acclaim. Thousands upon thousands of people came to this site to vigil. The vigil became 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and has continued without stop till right now. People have blocked every train that has come down these tracks with the exception of one that we watched in silent witness. They've also blocked a lot of trucks here and sometimes at other gates in the base. But people don't come here just to block trucks and trains. They come to vigil, to pray, to meditate, to sing, and to join in the nonviolent community that has grown up at this site. Nuremberg Actions, or the site, has become a support for many people as they move in their own quest to deepen their own nonviolence. It's a place where people coming back from Central America, from people lonely in their work, people emerging from all sorts of brutality, have found support and understanding and strength to go on with their own lives.
Weapons are shipped into the Concord Naval Weapons Station by trains and trucks and ships. And while they're here, they are held in bunkers that honeycomb the countryside around the massive area that has been allocated for the Naval Weapons Station. There are all sorts of weapons that are kept here, everything from bullets and small ammunition to bombs of varying sizes and sorts, including white phosphorus bombs, which have been used extensively in El Salvador against the civilian populations in the countryside. You may notice the guard tower in the background. Picture that guard tower in relation to the other bunkers that you see here and the form of these bunkers. In just a moment, we'll show you a very different kind of bunker. As I mentioned, there are bombs kept in these bunkers, but not all bombs. This is the nuclear weapons facility of the Concord Naval Weapons Station. As you will notice from this and other footage, it is, besides having the main fence around here like the individual bunkers, inside that there is a double fence for added protection. Here you see the long concrete and steel bunker as opposed to individual bunkers, and as we've said before, it apparently goes down into the ground some 6 stories for the storage and maintenance of these nuclear weapons. The real destructive power of the Concord Naval Weapons Station can be seen here and in the deaths of over 2 million people in the last 45 years.
This two-year-old baby about 5 years ago in El Salvador, from the bombs that come from these trains, was found, her 6-year-old sister found her putting her father's brains back into his head after the bomb exploded their house. She's a real quiet girl nowadays. She's about 6 or so.
Fighting in a country where we don't belong. Are these the Sandinistas or are these the Viet Cong? Well, we lived and died these battles in our recent past. The lessons we learned were supposed to last. Said the lesson of war, there's no more war. Here's the lesson of war, there's no more war.
2, 3, 4.
Brian Willson, we won't forget what you gave for us today. Peaceful disobedience of the American way. You tried to stop that gun train, so down on the tracks you lay. Brother Brian, they took your legs, what a price to pay. We saw you on the TV screen. The whole world heard your silent scream. Well, it must have felt like Vietnam. That's where you learn to feign. And I remembered all the things you've done to bring it into war. You were a frontline troop, you've seen it all. And then you said no more. Brian Willson, we won't forget what you gave for us today. In peaceful disobedience of the American way. You tried to stop that gun train, so down on the tracks you lay. Brother Brian, they took your legs, what a price to pay. And your fasting days in Washington with Charlie and the rest reached out to all us citizens, and we share your quest in Central America. You've seen the Holocaust, well, yes you did. You went and looked into those children's eyes, and you felt their loss. So Brian
forget what you gave for us today. The peaceful
The time that the truck comes and we can identify the truck in a positive way. In other words, it will have an orange diamond on it.
Yes.
The orange diamond will say explosives, explosives 1, explosives A, explosives B, or just explosives. It doesn't make any difference. We do not stop any other vehicle.
I have a dream and I have a prayer that communities of people all over the world are going to form like this one here at Concord and sit on tracks, on railroad tracks and on roadways, in front of airplanes that are taking bombs and munitions to kill our brothers and sisters in any part of the world. And that this example of a loving, nonviolent community committed to living as if we're all one human family, really believing that, is going to have phenomenal power in waking up the brothers and sisters all over this land and all over the world that we have to stop this madness. And that, as Brian has said, our lives are worth no more than the people that are going to certainly die if the trains go down this track. And their lives, the people in Central America and the Middle East and South Africa and Chile and the Philippines, South Korea, are worth no less.
There's a train coming and you're in violation of 370 and 602 of the Penal Code Public Nuisance. You have 1 minute to clear this side of the tracks, otherwise you will be arrested.
We'd like to charge the Concord Naval Weapons Station with breaking international law and the Nuremberg principles. They're involved in shipping arms and munitions, which are killing innocent civilians today in El Salvador and Nicaragua. This is a crime against humanity. It's a war crime. It's crimes against peace.
Without moving my body. It's a whole chorus. You can't move that train. You can't move that train. You can't move that train without moving my body. I was born on the 4th of July to Mom and God and apple pie. I did everything my country said was right. That's when I still believed, like many friends who were deceived, so young and naive. When we got the call to fight, you can't move that train, you can't move that train. You can't move that train. You can't move that train without moving my body. Sing it again now. You can't move that train. You can't move that train. You can't move that train without moving my body. I was the all-American kid, but all the right things that I did couldn't have prepared me for Vietnam. That's when I began to doubt and question what the war was all about. Counting bodies in the burned out villages we bombed. And you can't move that train. You can't move that train.
Well, I was thinking in this cold out here, how much I'd rather be painting in Nicaragua this time of year. I guess both times I was down there, it was around this time of year. It was February, March. And it was partly that desire to be doing something around Nicaragua that brought me out here. And I guess what I'm doing is exactly what I did down there. I'm not, some artists are good at producing good art that's also propagandistic. I tend to be better at just kind of letting things speak for themselves. And that's what I'm trying to do with the tracks here, is paint a picture that's sufficiently intense and vital that it makes people think about the tracks and what happened here, and the fact that here on the tracks the American war machine chose to run over an American who fought in Vietnam, rather than admit the errors of its ways. You know, when a country, as this country has been doing, supports fascist forces overseas, it's only a matter of time before that kind of fascist behavior comes home to roost. And so that to me is the meaning of these tracks. It was here that the essence of our war in Central America was demonstrated, and it's also here that the danger of these kind of wars on the domestic front became clear. A government that will do this to women and children overseas, or even to finance proxies to do this overseas, will eventually end up doing it to us here at home. So, you know, it's my hope that, I mean, in painting the tracks and in all the things that everyone has done to bring attention to this location, I'm contributing a bit to making people think about that, I hope.
There's a real power that we find in sustained ongoing vigil. We're going on our 8th month at the Concord Naval Weapons Station of a 24-hour vigil. But this action is about to catch on across the nation. A nonviolent revolution, which is what we're becoming, right? A nonviolent revolution is not a program of seizure of power. It is a program of transformation of relationships, our relationships, right here on the steps, ending in a peaceful transfer of power. That's Gandhi.
De todo. People of all ages. Es bien infrahumano.
It's very inhuman.
Cómo ellos están viviendo.
The way that they are living.
Con una intervención de este país.
With intervention from this country.
Y es bien triste.
And it's very sad to see.
Que como humanos.
That as human beings.
Estemos matando a nuestros demás hermanos.
We're killing other human beings, our brothers and sisters.
A través de tantas bombas.
Through so many bombs.
Diferentes otras armas.
Other types of weapons.
Diferentes asesores.
U.S. advisors.
En nuestra parroquia, nuestro párroco fue asesinado.
In my home church, my priest was killed.
Por miembros de paramilitares.
By the death squads, paramilitary death squads.
Desde marzo de este año de las elecciones.
And from March this year, the elections.
Hay más violaciones de derechos humanos.
The violations of human rights has increased.
Los escuadrones de la muerte actúan de día y de noche.
The death squads are acting day and night.
Todo esto con el apoyo de este país.
And that is only happening with the support from this country.
Con todas estas armas que están destruyendo miles de niños.
These weapons that are killing thousands of children.
¿Cuántos de nosotros tenemos hijos?
How many of us have children here?
¿Cuántos de nosotros realmente?
How many of us really
sentimos como humanos?
Feel as human beings.
La muerte de estas criaturas que están comiendo hojas.
The deaths of these children.
Esos niños que están muriendo de desnutrición.
And these children that are dying of malnutrition.
Gracias a Dios nosotros en este país.
Thank God. Thank God. Thanks to God and to you all.
Sus hijos pueden tener tienen todas las garantías.
Or thank God that you all, your children have a secure life. They have medical clinics.
Hay escuelas.
There are schools for your children.
Hay comida.
There's food for your children.
Pero con estas armas ustedes en nuestro país, El Salvador,
but with the sending of these weapons to our country, El Salvador,
Están matando miles de niños.
You're killing thousands of children.
Y eso es bien infrahumano.
And that's very inhuman.
Si nosotros decimos que somos humanos, hechos a la imagen de Dios,
if we say that we're human beings created in the image of God,
¿cómo es que nos prestemos a asesinar a tantos niños?
Why are we killing so many children?
Es bien triste.
It's very sad.
Nosotros como cristianos,
we as Christians,
realmente, nosotros a todos les tenemos un gran cariño.
We have a great affection and a love for everyone.
Tenemos una gran fe.
We have a great faith.
Una esperanza.
And hope.
Y que algún día vamos a lograr la paz en nuestro país.
That someday we will achieve peace in our country.
Pero no con más ayuda militar.
But not with military aid.
No con más armas.
Not with more weapons.
Si Dios nos ha dado el don de hablar.
If God has given us the gift of speaking,
el don de oír,
the gift of being able to listen,
nos ha dado unas manos,
God has given us our hands,
unos ojos,
our eyes,
una boca,
our mouth,
unos pies,
our feet,
pero para que construyamos la paz,
in order that we might build peace,
pero no para que nos matemos entre hermanos,
but not that we might kill one another.
Es triste.
And it's very sad.
Y esperamos que aquí a nuestros hermanos marines que están aquí,
and we hope that our brothers who are Marines here
comprendan
that you would understand
la situación de nuestro país,
the situation in our country.
Nosotros somos
because we
un pueblo de mucha fe.
Are people with a lot of faith.
Y queremos que comprendan que los que están muriendo allá es gente civil.
And we want you to understand that the people that are being killed there are civilians.
Que se pongan a pensar esos niños.
That you would think about the children.
¿Verdad? Que se pongan a pensar esas mujeres cuando están embarazadas, qué maneras infrahumanas tienen que tener a sus hijos.
That you would think about the pregnant women who have to have their children, their babies in inhuman conditions.
Y comprendamos que cuando estamos diciendo que no queremos más ayuda militar.
And that all of us would understand that when we as Salvadorans say that we don't want any more military aid,
no es que lo estamos haciendo por rebeldía.
It's not because we're doing it out of rebellion.
No es porque lo estamos haciendo porque vamos ahí queremos bulliciosos. No es porque lo estamos haciendo por querer hacer ponche, algo así.
It's not because we want to make a big fuss of it.
No, realmente porque es triste y lamentable cómo estos niños están muriendo.
But rather because it's really unfortunate and very sad how the children are dying.
Es triste cómo ahora en día los niños están comiendo hojas.
That even today in the 20th century, the children are eating
¿Se pueden imaginar
leaves.
ustedes un niño de 2 años comiendo unas hojas de aquí de este monte?
Think about a child of 2 years who might be eating leaves from the brush out
Porque
there.
no dejan pasar la comida.
Because they are not allowing food into their
Pero
communities.
sí las armas sí las dejan pasar.
But yes, the weapons, they're allowing them to go in.
Por favor, entiéndanos, hermanos marines.
Please, I ask you, Marines, to understand.
Entiendan que somos humanos.
To understand that we are all brothers and sisters
Ustedes son
and human
humanos.
beings, and that you are human beings.
Y no se presten a esta intervención.
All right, face to the right!
That you will not
Move out!
Gracias.
intervene.
We're here for you guys, don't forget that.
No más bombas ni radiación, no más de exterminación, ya no más bombas ni radiación, no más de exterminación. Oh, queremos paz y libertad en este mundo. Oh, queremos paz y libertad en este mundo. Ya no más hambre, ya no más guerra, queremos paz en esta tierra. Ya no más hambre, ya no más guerra, queremos paz en esta tierra. Paz, queremos paz y libertad en este mundo. Paz, queremos paz y libertad en este mundo.
That's probably I told him a few good stories.
Does that, oh, let's have a circle right now.